Every great project manager is basically fluent in a special language, a language of plans, processes, and people. In this explainer, we're going to break down the core vocabulary of that language, because honestly, it's the key to unlocking your newest, most powerful tool, artificial intelligence.
So, what's the real secret to taking a project from just a cool idea to a huge success? Well, here's the thing. It's not just one secret. A great project is really a great story. It's got a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. And like any great story, it all starts with a solid plan. So here's how our story is going to unfold. First, we'll lay a solid foundation. Then we'll chart the course for the journey ahead, figure out how to handle those unexpected twists, and then we'll get into the really crucial stuff, the people, the progress, and the payoff. And finally, we'll unlock that AI superpower that ties this whole thing together.
All right, so think about it. Every great build, whether you're talking about a skyscraper or a software app, doesn't start with a single line of code or a single shovel in the ground. No, it starts with a plan. This is where we create the blueprint that everyone is going to follow. Okay, first up, we've got the baseline document. The easiest way to think of this is as the project's architectural blueprint. It is the single source of truth that details what you're building, why you're building it, when it's due, and how much it's going to cost. Getting everyone to agree on this document before any real work starts is absolutely crucial. It stops all that confusion later on, and hey, it also provides the exact kind of structured info an AI needs to get what you're trying to do.
But, a big, ambitious blueprint can feel overwhelming, right? So how do you actually tackle it? Well, that's where the work breakdown structure, or WBS, comes in. It literally deconstructs the entire project into smaller, bite-sized pieces. It's like making a super detailed shopping list for your house, breaking down every single task. This level of detail, it's perfect for feeding into an AI to help you figure out timelines or what resources you'll need.
And for each of those little pieces, how do you really know when you're done? You do that by setting SMART objectives. This whole framework just makes sure every goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It just gets rid of any confusion and creates a super clear definition of done that both your team and, you guessed it, an AI can understand and track.
So when you put these three together, what you really have is the project's DNA. The baseline document, that's your what, the WBS, that's the how, and your SMART objectives, they give you the why and the way you'll measure success. Get this foundation right, and I promise you, everything that comes next gets a whole lot easier. Okay, so our blueprints are signed off, our shopping list is made. Now it's time to actually start building. This next part is all about turning that plan into action. It's time to make the schedule and bring in the crew.
And the master schedule for pretty much any project you'll run into? It's called a Gantt chart. This is your project's whole timeline, but in a visual way. It shows you what needs to happen, in what order, and for how long. And most importantly, it shows you the dependencies, so you can see right away how a delay in one task, like pouring the foundation, is going to affect everything else down the line. Of course, a schedule is just a bunch of lines on a chart without the right people, right? Task allocation is really the art of matching the right person to the right job. It's all about looking at your work breakdown structure, really understanding your team's unique skills, and then assigning roles where they can just knock it out of the park. Okay, now for a reality check. Because let's be honest, no project ever goes perfectly to plan. The weather goes bad, clients change their minds, suppliers are late. Success isn't about having a perfect plan. It's about being ready to handle the imperfect, messy reality of it all.
And this is where we need to understand two key ideas. On one hand, you have a change request. This is how you handle a known change. Like the client suddenly decides they want a balcony. Okay, you document it, you figure out the impact on cost and time, and you get it approved. But a risk management plan, that's totally different. That's for potential problems. What if our main supplier goes on strike? This plan lays out our backup strategy before it even happens. So one is about reacting to stuff that happens, the other is about preparing for stuff that might happen. So we've got our plan, we've even got a plan for when the plan goes wrong. But at the end of the day, projects are all about people. Managing their expectations, keeping an eye on the budget, and nailing the final delivery, that's where the real magic happens.
Let's talk about stakeholder engagement. And really, this is just a fancy way of saying keep people in the loop. A stakeholder is anyone with a horse in the race. Your client, your team, your boss. Engaging them just means keeping them informed, managing what they expect to see, and making sure they're on your side from start to finish. And you know what keeps the lights on for all of this? The budget. This is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. It's a constant process of tracking every single dollar against the plan to make sure you're not going to have any costly surprises. In fact, a lot of new AI tools are popping up that can help automate this and even predict if you're going to go over budget. Pretty cool.
So, as you're hitting these big milestones, you need that official good to go, that thumbs up. That's called Deliverable Acceptance. It's the official sign-off from your client that a specific piece of work is done and done right. It's that awesome moment when you can officially check something off the list.
And believe it or not, even after the project is done and you've handed over the keys, there's one last super important step, and that's documenting the lessons learned. This is where you take a hard look back at what went right, what went wrong, and why. These insights are pure gold, and you can even feed them to an AI to spot patterns across lots of projects to make your next one even better. Okay, so there you have it. That's the core language of traditional project management. But here's the thing. Learning this language today isn't just about managing projects. It's about being able to command a seriously powerful new tool. Let's talk about your AI superpower.
So, the big question. Where does AI fit into all of this? This very human process of plans and problems and people. How can a machine possibly understand all of it?
The answer, and this is the key to everything we've been talking about, is prompting. Here it is. An AI is only as good as the instructions you give it. Knowing the right language is everything. So instead of asking for a project plan, you can now ask an AI to say, generate a detailed Gantt chart for a mobile app launch based on this specific WBS, and please identify the critical path. Or how about draft a stakeholder engagement plan for these specific user groups? See? All those terms we just learned, that is the language of a great prompt.
See? Knowing this language, it's not just about running a project anymore. It's about being the person who can tell this incredibly powerful tool exactly what to do. You now have the vocabulary for success. So the only question left is, what are you going to ask it to build?